I'm here walking the trails at Lake Louisa State Park in Clermont, Florida. So this park is gorgeous, okay? It has the very large Lake Louisa, but it's also got a total of 8 lakes on the state park property. Plus there are all these little ponds and stuff that you can walk around. There's also one really big creek that runs through and some other smaller creeks. So there's water everywhere. It's beautiful. There's something like over 20 miles of trails here, so I haven't walked them all, but I have walked a lot of them, and I've done most of it barefoot. So as far as difficulty of the trails go, they're pretty easy, but there are hills. Who knew? Florida does have some good hills. They're nothing compared to what you might find in the mountains somewhere. Also, we've had a lot of rain this past week. Today, luckily, it's beautiful and sunny, but all that rain caused some flooding on some parts of the trail. So there were actually a couple of spots where we had to cross over water, which is kind of scary because it's really murky water and it was in the forest, and you know, it's just a little bit scary, but we could pretty much get through some really shallow areas. Also, you might be able to see behind me, there are a lot of Y weeds. There are some areas where the grass has shot up pretty good because of all the rain, and that's made for some, you know, snaky looking grass. Overall, I'd say these trails are well maintained, but there are some areas that are really not well marked. So if you stick close to Lake Louisa, there are some really well marked trails with the blazes. But if you get out further, like in the equestrian areas, they're not. You'll have trail markers, yes, but you won't have the blazes, which is really kind of intimidating when you come to a spot and it goes 2 different ways and there's no indication telling you which way to go to stay going towards that marker. So if you do come here, just know that, make sure you bring plenty of water and try to have a good sense of direction, which I don't. As far as barefoot friendliness goes, this place is generally really barefoot friendly. I would say especially around the lakes, it's really nice, but if you go down to the equestrian areas though, like the South Loop and the loop I'm on right now, the Bronson Loop, it's a lot out in the sun and you don't have very good navigation, and there are sand spurs. And if you've never experienced a Florida sand spur in the bottom of your barefoot, well, just hope that you've never done that, because it's really painful and they get stuck down really deep in there. Also, there's a lot of bare sand, like what I'm walking in right now. It's pretty hot, so you might want to keep a pair of shoes with you just in case. I always do. As far as wildlife that I've spotted, there hasn't been as much as in other parks. I've seen, you know, squirrels, lizards, that kind of thing. I've seen evidence of, I think, river otters. We were trying to figure out that footprint. A bobcat, deer, raccoons, and possums, but none of those actual animals. We did see a green ribbon snake, and I did see a big gator at Hammond Lake. This park is right on US 27, so there's a lot of traffic from that. Maybe that's what scares some of the wildlife away. And sometimes you can hear some road noise when you're hiking. But overall, the trails have been really deserted. And if you happen to be camping here, like we are, because you know we full-time RV, we have found that it's a really pretty walk from the back side of the campgrounds along Lake Dixie. They also have some cabins for rent here. If you want to stick with the shadier areas, I would highly recommend being around Lake Louisa, the Orange Trail around there. It's well marked and it's pretty shady. There are some spots out in the sun, but overall it's a beautiful walk.